Today in the lab we learned about importing data into Apex and also learned about triggers and what they are. So first, this is available on icon. This is the Apex __ import into apex.sql file. If you take a look at it, and I'm using Notepad++, which is nice because it highlights the language according to SQL. First, we're dropping tables and then cascading any constraints. And then we're starting to create tables. So the first table that we create is something called x _ student _ t. And this has a primary key, which is student ID, which you can see right here. Primary key, and then we have a student name. Now, one of the things that goes along with this is creating a sequence, and this is for a trigger. So we create a sequence called student ID _ sequence, and starts with 10,000. So what this means is, if we were to add a new student name, we don't have to specify what the student ID is. So we can insert a student name without specifying a student ID, because it would start with 10,000. And then if we look at, so what I have though is I only have this sequence for the student table. Every other table, if you were to insert, like faculty for example, if you were inserting another faculty name, you would also have to specify what that faculty ID is. So it does not have a sequence along with it. So let's see how this works with Apex triggers. Okay, so this is also available on icon. So we create or replace an existing trigger that we have, which is called bi, before index is what that is, and then x student table. And then before we're inserting on that student table, for each row, check to see if that student ID is null. So check to make sure that there's actually something in it. If there's nothing in it, which is, this is the student ID, which is, if there's nothing in the student ID, then that means we need to use this trigger. So we're going to first select the first available student ID sequence that is available. So if 10,001, if 10,000 is not available and 10,001 is not available, well then it will give us 10,002. And so then 10,002 will be our next available sequence when we're inserting a student name, for example. But we are always starting off here at 10,000. Okay, so now let's look at Apex. So I'm opening up Apex. And the first step that we do here is we're going to take a look at, we're going to create a new set of tables. We are going to create a new application. Okay, so with this application what we're going to do is we're first going to have an application that gives us a form, and that allows us not only to view the data from the student table, but also to be able to include new students within that table without specifying the student ID. You know, so let's go through and let's build an application. So application builder, and then we go create. It's a database. Next. Okay. Next. Okay. And next. Okay, so now let's import the data. So let's go to SQL Workshop. I'm going to say SQL scripts. And first I'm going to upload the SQL import. So import into Apex. This is the file that we were just looking at. And I'm going to call this Apex import. Well, I previously uploaded this thing, so I'm I'm going to call it Apex Import number 1. Oops. Okay, and now we're going to run that. Run it now, and let's view the results. Okay, so look at the bottom here, and you'll see statements processed 40, successful 33, and with errors 7. So this is important to always look at this. The errors that we had is we were trying to drop tables that don't exist. And the reason why I did this is because well, just in case they did exist, we want to be able to take over those names. So that's where the 7 came from, the 7 errors. And we can also look through the rows here, and we can see that we inserted some data, we created the tables, and inserted more rows, and then we committed. Okay, so now let's go to SQL Workshop. We're going to go to SQL Scripts. We're going to go to Upload, choose a file, and then we're going to say Apex Triggers. We're going to upload this. I'm going to call this Apex Triggers number 1. And this is just a name that signals what it is for us. I'm going to upload this, and now I'm going to run this. Okay, run now, and I'm going to take a look at viewing the results. Okay, and so it was successful. Okay, so now let's go to Home. We're going to go to Application Builder. We're going to look at the one that we just created, that database application, which I just named very boringly Rechenthin, because that's the default. And now let's create a page. And this page here is going to be a form, because we're adding information. And it's a form, but it's also going to have a report. So first, it's going to report the student information, and then we're going to be able to include student names into it. Next, so this is going to be called Student Report. Not sure what happened here. Huh. It's like well, let's just run with it. And then this is called student. And let's add a breadcrumb. It should be familiar from the last video. And we're going to choose Reports Region. We're going to go to Next. Okay, what table are we going to choose? We're going to choose the student table. Do not use tabs. Next. We're going to display everything. Next. Okay, so here, this is going to be called student form. It's going to be called student. This should all be familiar to you. Okay, so we want to be able to insert and update and also delete records according to by their name. So go to Next, Create. Okay, now let's run that page. This is the same username and password that you used to log into Apex. Okay, so this is the report section. See student report. Now we're going to create a name. And I'm going to create a name called Mike. Create. And here it's given us a student ID of 10,100. Reason why it's not starting off at 10,000 is because I've already run this several times, so that's why it's starting off at 100 instead of 10,000. Okay, so now let's create another table without the trigger, and I'll show you the difference. And I'm just going to, I'm going to go ahead and keep those default. This is just an example. So let's do the same thing with faculty, for example, and I will show you. And also the same thing, we're going to give the user the option to include faculty names. Okay, so we're displaying the information like we were before, but the only difference here is that now we're forced to include a faculty ID name, which is unrealistic. It's as I said in class, it's like our parents giving us our names and then having to choose our own social security numbers. So we don't want to allow for that. So thanks.